Hello, everyone. You'll notice my slightly subdued and more seductive voice here at the fireside. This is going to be really cool, guys. If you can come on in and settle in, take your seats, allow your brain to go into alpha. We're going to have an awesome little Q&A here. You know how the fireside sessions work, the fireside chats here. And we get to have a nice little question and answer with Edmeades and Vishen Lakhiani, who really, I think, need no further introduction than that, right? We all know who they are, we all love them already. So let's give a nice, warm round of applause to Eric and Vishen.
Thank you, Justin.
Very seductive.
Thank you, Justin. Is that your better side?
Whatever side you like.
Let's go for that. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. How many of you guys truly enjoyed Eric's 3-hour session this morning?
Thank you.
That was pretty amazing. Standing ovation. So what we're going to do in this fireside chat, it's going to be approximately 45 minutes, and we're going to focus on what Eric is most known for in our Mindvalley community, and that's health transformation. Eric, as you guys know, and firstly, welcome to all of you on Facebook Live watching right now. Eric is the creator of WildFit. It is the health transformation program that's had such a massive impact on our community. Many of you know that WildFit was something that I put myself on when I turned 40 and found that my health was, for lack of a better word, shit. And it completely transformed me. It changed my body shape, it changed my relationship with food, it changed my energy levels in the office. And then I brought it onto my team, and I put 100 people from the Mindvalley team onto WildFit. The record was 51 pounds lost. And today I found out from another person on my team who shared her story with me yesterday, and I never even realized this, but this woman had lost 40 pounds. And she had started modeling, and it was just transformative for her. So I decided to bring Eric and WildFit onto the Mindvalley community. And now it's been almost 2 years. We've put close to 4,000 or 5,000 people through WildFit, and the stories keep coming forth. How many of you here have done WildFit before? Could you kindly stand up? We'd love to admire your beautiful bodies. Amazing. Thank you, guys. So yesterday I went live down at the corridors down there to announce to our Facebook community that Eric was going to be coming on, and I randomly shouted out, "Hey, any WildFitters here?" 3 people came to me. We pointed the camera to them and they shared their story. And what's funny is that when you change the way you eat, it's not just about losing weight. We think that that is the main benefit, but it actually changes your health in many ways. One of the people who shared the story was this incredible musician from Belarus. Are you here? You know who you are? Leap member. Okay, maybe she's not here right now, but she said it cleared up her skin. It completely cleared up her skin. So we'd often underestimate just how much of an impact food has on our body. This is going to be the topic of today's conversation. Now, I also would love to welcome Eric.
Thank you very much.
And it's going to be your chance to ask Eric questions on healthy eating, on body transformation, and on food and nutrition. Shall we get started?
Let's do it.
So, Eric, I'm going to start with the opening question, right? We know that you developed WildFit when you were working with the Bushmen in Africa, like hunting with them, living with them. You're an incredible teacher, and you learned a lot from them. But did you teach them anything?
Well, it's kind of tough. They speak a very different language, so they've got this like clicky, way of speaking, and I'm doing things through a translator. So generally, no. But there was this moment at one point. I'm sitting, funny, like speaking of fireside chat, I was sitting around the fire with them, and I suddenly remembered, having been born in South Africa, having spent so much time in the bush, is that I'd learned a bunch of bird calls. And like African bird calls. And so I was sitting at the fire at one point, and I just thought, I'll just do this. And so, they were all sitting around, and they're telling stories and their different clicky stuff. And then I just did this. I went, and they grabbed their bows and arrows. Like instantly, and they were so impressed. And so what was really funny is the chief, he kind of was like, just sort of ignored me a little, but the kids all gathered around and they're like, show me, and I showed them. And the kids' eyes are this big, and they're coming with their little hands, and they're going, show me, show me. And little kids can't do it. You need bigger hands. And the chief's watching, but he's watching like this. Like, I'm not learning nothing from white dude over there. And after a while, he finally got up, and he walked over, and he sat down beside me, beside my part of the fire, and he went like this to me and showed me. And so I showed him how to do it. So I guess I did teach them one thing.
Awesome. So I'd love to take some questions from the audience. Do we have mic runners ready? So think about your biggest question for Eric Edmeades. If you could sit down with Eric over a cup of Wildfit-friendly coffee, what would you ask Eric? Mic runners, please pick a volunteer.
Runners.
Okay, I'm ready.
And the mic's coming to you.
Hi, Brandy Wild from Redondo Beach. I was wondering if there is a sugar that is low index sugar that you recommend that you can use.
I think it's really important to understand, I am not one of those in the health and diet industry that will vilify sugar as an entire category. I believe that there's a lot of that going around. I've even seen people writing about the dangers of deadly fruit. I'd like to explain that to our 5 million years of ancestors that have been eating it. Bad that they did that. So what I would suggest is that one of the more powerful questions about food is not, or sugar, is not whether or not you should be eating it. It's a matter of when and how much, and the quantity. So there are clearly sugars that our digestive system is better at. You know, we're better at fructose. I'm not talking processed powdered fructose that you're sprinkling on top of something. I mean fructose inside an apple. And you know, things like coconut sugars and honeys, where we've had a relationship with those sugars from a digestive perspective for a very long time. The challenge is what you're looking for me to say is, yes, here you go, have some coconut sugar or have some honey and have it every day. And I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say that our ancestors would have always been faced with seasonal fluctuation, and then, you know, they would stumble upon ripened fruit and they would eat sugar like fiends, and then it would stop, and they would lament it, and they would be sad about it, and then they would move on with their lives until the next time it came back. And then they'd stumble upon a beehive, and they'd crack the tree open, and they would eat. And I've done this with them. It's an incredible thing. I've done this with the Hadza Bushmen. You crack the tree open, it's the yummiest honey in the world. It's not entirely vegan honey because the bees get in the honey and then you eat the honey and there might be bees in there, but it's yummy. And so, but you would do that day, and then you wouldn't be lucky enough to find one for a while. So what I would say to you is origin-based sugars, honey, fruit, that sort of stuff. Even coconut sugar I'll have from time to time. But frankly, like, I know a lot of you are going out there and saying, oh look, agave syrup, it's low GI. Agave syrup comes from a cactus that humans only saw for the first time recently. Frankly, I'd rather have raw unprocessed cane sugar than agave syrup. I just also know that raw unprocessed cane sugar is super high GI, so I wouldn't want to do it with any regularity. Does that help? Good deal. Thank you.
That's a good question.
Up here?
Hi, Eric.
Oh, we're already there.
Galina from Russia. Eric, what time of year would you recommend to start your program? What's the best time?
Hang on a second.
No.
Now. Now. People ask me this quite often. What time of year should I start it? What about my local seasons? WildFit discusses seasons a great deal, but not the seasons you're living in, the seasons that your body evolved to live through. And so it really doesn't matter what time of year it is. Some people tell me, ooh, I suspect you're going to make me stop eating sugar, so I don't want to do it while Easter is happening. Right? Now, what I would say is the clients that have accidentally signed up for the program and found themselves dealing with Easter at a time when we might be asking them to question the relationship with sugar, we're grateful that they did that. Because if we can guide you through the most difficult, most tragic, most challenging times from a food perspective, when you come to the other side, you can handle anything. We had a woman, a very close friend of mine, do the program shortly after her husband had passed away. It was not the best time for her to be doing a program. She came out of the program and she said, wow, I really felt like I could have lost more like 40 pounds and I only lost 20. And I feel like I didn't really do all that well. And I said to her, Shelley, let me ask you something. How much would you have put on? in this time after your husband passed, and she got it in a heartbeat, that it was beautiful that we did it at the time when she needed the greatest deal of support. So if I were you, I would make sure that your Wild Fit Challenge has a birthday, it has an office party, it's got a Halloween party, a Christmas party, and Easter. If you can get it all in there, all the better for you.
And you know why that's important? It's because if you look at common American holidays, so many of them have been hijacked by food manufacturers. How is the resurrection of Jesus, what has that got to do with chocolate bunnies? Right? Which is what is common at Easter. How is it that this ancient holiday that evolved into Halloween turned into something where we get our kids to like stuff themselves with Snickers and Mars and M&M bars? And so food companies are sneaky, and they hijack our lifestyle through commercials, through habit creation, and that's one of the reasons why obesity is rising across the world. Eric, you speak a lot about the stunning statistic, and correct me if I'm wrong, 74% of the foods in the average supermarket contain sugar.
Yeah, depending on what you read. I've read a number of different reports, some with more credibility, some with less, but they never are less than 60%. And some state as high as 75, 80% of production food is containing some kind of sugar, corn syrup, and and artificial sweeteners and so on. And when you really think about it, our ancestors would have faced a life where the vast majority of what was available to them on any given day did not have sugar in it at all. So your pancreas was never designed for that volume or that regularity of eating sugar. But you have to ask yourself, why would the food manufacturers want to put the sugar in there? I mean, it's a cost. Hell, if people don't need it, they should take it out, save themselves some money. But that's not really the way it works. They're looking at it from a different perspective, and that is that our ancestors, when fruit became available to them, they ate it in abundance because it was going to be there for a short period of time. In other words, Vishen, you and I could be walking along in the bush and we stumble upon a sour plum tree. We grab a couple pieces, we eat it. Our stomachs normally, if we don't live in the Western civilized world, our stomachs are only about the size of our fist. How many pieces of fruit do we need? 4, 5? We would eat 4 or 5, we would be satiated and we would walk on. Inside our body, what would be happening is this sugar would come in and our pancreas would start producing insulin. And so the insulin would break down the sugar, and suddenly we would have a moment of insulin shock where we had not enough sugar, and suddenly we'd have a craving, and I or Vishen would turn to the other one and go, "You want to go get another one?" And we'd walk back to that tree and we would eat that tree into oblivion, and our stomachs would expand the way they're meant to for weird circumstances like that. And that system was there to help make sure that we got the abundance we were supposed to get right before winter was going to come along and threaten our existence through starvation. The problem is that food manufacturers understand this, and so what they're doing is putting the sugar in there to stimulate your appetite. They put it in there to make you buy more. Look, we've had our fair share of time as marketers here in the world, and we know that marketing can be done in a lot of different ways. If you want to boost your revenues, one of the ways you can do it is by getting more clients. But if you're a food manufacturer, you might have all the clients you can get. So the next way to try to make more money is try to make more money per client. Well, to make more money per client, you're going to have to get them to eat more. If you're going to get them to eat more, I suggest 2 systems. Take the nutrition out of the food, keep them hungry, and put the sugar in the food to stimulate their hunger. And then, well, but that couldn't be happening, because if that was happening, the vast majority of the world would be approaching obesity.
And you know why? One of the things why it's so important for us to get Wild Fit out to the world is that my country, Malaysia, recently got the distinction of being the fattest country in Asia. The fattest country in Asia. And a large part of it is food manufacturing companies, Nestle, Kellogg. They fund the Malaysian nutritional research programs by the government. So any research document that goes out that tries to attempt to suggest how people should eat has to be vetted by Kellogg, vetted by Nestle, and it's really disturbing how food companies can even hijack governments. What are your views on that? What can we as the public do to help create a better, healthier world for our kids?
We're in a tough place. Capitalism and democracy they just don't work. And the fact of the matter is they are the best possible financial and, people management systems of a bad lot. We haven't figured out a way that works. And so one of the problems we have today is that there's a tremendous incentive toward profitability without any thought to what the impact of that is. So as an example, in the United States, the sugar growers lobby the government. By the way, lobby is just a really fancy way of saying bribe and manipulate. You know, they just bribe and manipulate the government to put sugar tariffs in place to stop sugar from coming in from Costa Rica and the Dominican Republic and other places, forcing the third world into deeper poverty. In the meantime, raising prices of sugar in America for 5 or 6 big sugar growers. Now, the reason this works is because there's only 5 or 6 of them, they can afford to go out and hire a lobbyist that can make the law changing for them, that can change the laws for them, and cost every American an extra $10 a year in sugar. The average American doesn't care about the $10. In the meantime, they get to make more money. Now, that doesn't particularly speak to people's health, but the same thing is happening with health all the time. We're in a position today where it is profitable to produce food that isn't healthy, because the less healthy the food is, the more hungry you are, the more hungry you get. And so when they go out to manipulate the system, look, I don't want to go too far down the dairy hole, but I am going to say this. Years ago, I wrote a book about dairy products, and I did a bunch of research, and I found that there's a company called the Dairy Management Company, run by a guy at the time called Paul Rovey. Why this sticks with me 10 years later, I'm not sure. But 10 years ago, his annual budget for lobbying, bribery and manipulation in my opinion, his annual budget for lobbying to carry out his manifesto, which was to influence lawmakers and educators to increase the demand for dairy products, was $165 million a year. Give me $165 million a year and I will convince you Coca-Cola is good for you. And that's what they've been doing. And the problem is that the current system is heavily flawed. What we can do is vote with your dollars and your rubles and your pesos and your euros, because when you stop buying the garbage, they stop making the garbage. That's the only way. I thought a lot about this. I seriously considered getting involved in politics. I really did. I thought, I'm going to jump in there. And I thought, no. I did some research into that, and I thought, oh, good. I worked really hard to get the job, and then 2 years into the job, I have to stop doing the job to spend the next 2 years to keep my job. I didn't want to do that. So I started thinking, how can I influence this the best way? And it's through you. It's through the extended army. Because, look, this is anecdotal. But one of our clients got on a WildFit call with us one day, and they shared the cutest story. And that was that they'd gone to their local butcher where they were getting the most ethically produced sausages that they could. And so they were going in there, but the problem is most sausages have sugar and syrup or something like that in them. So she goes into the butcher and says, can you do a special batch for me with no sugar in it? He's like, no problem. So she keeps going every couple of weeks and getting her special batch of sausages. One day she walks in and the butcher says, I'm sorry, I don't have your special batch anymore. And he says, why not? Or she says, why not? And he goes, well, because there's no sugar in any of our sausages anymore. She says, why? And he goes, well, because you kept making this custom order, and then another guy who's doing this crazy WildFit thing, he kept putting in this crazy order. And then my partner and I, we started asking ourselves, why are we putting sugar in there? Sugar and meat. Why are we doing that? And they then made a batch for her, and they tasted it, and they realized it had nothing to do with flavor. And so they changed it. One butcher at a time, one grocery store at a time, one chain at a time. They changed it. And when they changed it, they then changed the choices for the people that live in that neighborhood. Because now those people in the neighborhood don't even know that they're now eating sausages without the sugar. That's how we're going to do this together.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
One, WildFitters can change the world. One of the things that many people don't know is that the last batch of WildFit, which we launched in January, there was a little video I did, when it was WildFit Week at Mindvalley, and I spoke about this product by Nestle called Milo, which is marketed as a health food for kids, and it's 40% sugar, and it says right at the back of the tin, 40% sugar. And I exposed that in a WildFit video, and it went viral in Malaysia. Malaysia is the biggest per capita consumers of Milo. Nestle is the biggest company listed in Malaysia. It went viral, and next thing you know, it became the biggest story in Malaysia that Nestle was brainwashing people. And within 3 weeks, Nestle lost its health ratings for Milo in Australia and New Zealand. And within 3 months, Nestle introduced zero sugar Milo in Singapore. So that was a big victory, but it started because of WildFit. It started because of WildFitters. So again, those of you who are part of WildFit, thank you for doing that. The point I'm trying to make is that this isn't just about transforming your health. This is about changing the course of human history by taking a stand for what healthy eating is meant to be. And if we can take that stand, The food manufacturers have to evolve, because if we refuse to be brainwashed, if we are smart and educated consumers, if we understand how sugar is addictive, how low nutrition foods cause us to stuff our face more, and we understand why food companies do this, they have to meet shareholder demand, we can fight back and we can force these companies to change, because ultimately these companies, they want to change. They want to give you what you want so they can charge you for it. But you got to educate yourself on what you need to be putting in your body. Now, Eric, that leads to a question. By the way, that beautiful little baby, that is Zoe, Eric's daughter.
If I'd known about that, I would have put her in a WildFit shirt.
So Eric, here's a question for you, right? So recently you were awarded a medal by the Canadian Senate, and I read the press release and it said for your work in transformation. So congratulations.
Thank you.
On that medal.
Thank you.
What do you say? What do you say to people who say that the food activism that you talk about, that I talk about, is just done so we can make money on WildFit?
Oh, there are far better ways for me to make money. If that was what it was about, I have a lot of different things and a lot of different ways that I could be doing that. I answered the money question in my life a long time ago, and I had made a decision in my life that it was now time to give back in a major way. I had initially people coming in doing WildFit and asking why we were charging what we were for it, and when I ran them through what was involved in the research, when I ran them through what was involved in the psychological testing that we did, when I ran them through the hours that I spend in the studio and had to pay everybody to be in there and doing it, they suddenly were wondering how we could do it so cheaply. WildFit was originally modeled on a program that we taught for business. Exactly the same work went into it, the same time in the studio, and we sell that program for $5,000 per person. I can sell that all day long. We don't do WildFit for the money, we do WildFit for the planet. It's absolutely clear to me.
Thank you. Question from the audience.
Hi, Eric, Vishen. I'm Sina from Orange County. I did WildFit last year. The only question that is still following me is caffeine, coffee. Why is it that a lot of biohackers promote caffeine, they make it bulletproof, they put all sorts of MCT oils in it, and a lot of them, they still promote it as something that prolongs your health and other benefits. But you were so against it.
So Dave Asprey's a good friend of mine, and I went to his house one day, and we were filming for Facebook Live and a podcast and a bunch of stuff. And he said, how do you feel about having a bulletproof coffee? And the irony of this, he lives on Vancouver Island, and the last time I had caffeine was in Victoria, BC, 20 plus years before. And so I said, I'm game. I consider myself a biohacker. I'm willing to test stuff. And so I had a bulletproof coffee. I did. And having spoken with him and having read the research, having spoken to Ben Greenfield and a lot of people, I haven't modified my opinion about caffeine a great deal, except that in WildFit we moved it from what we would call category 5, as in don't ever do this, and we moved to what we call a hack. And that's exactly what it is in my world. And sometimes my son gives me a hard time quite a lot. My son won't. He has what I would consider to be a not particularly healthy relationship with dairy products. And so he said to me, well, Dad, how do you know you just don't think you're right and you just want to be right? And I said, well, I'll prove it to you. And he goes, how? And I said, the fact of the matter is that if I let people on WildFit stay on dairy products through the whole program, they would lose weight faster. But their skin would not heal up. Their headaches would not go away, and 30 years later, they might be facing prostate cancer or ovarian cancer. So I don't care about the short term. I care more about the long term. So in the case of caffeine, here's what I would suggest to you. In my case, I am particularly sensitive to caffeine, so it's not such a good idea for me. That said, if I'm driving, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, I've been on the road for 5 hours, and I need to get where I'm going, at that point, it is safer for me to drink a coffee than keep going without one. Does this make sense? That's the definition of a hack, is a short-term game, a short-term benefit at the potential of long-term cost. So my view of caffeine for the most part is that if you are ever drinking it because it makes you feel good 2 days in a row, stop it. If you're drinking it as a drug, stop it. If you're drinking it because there's something particular you're trying to achieve in your body at that point, for example, stimulating ketosis and weight loss, or stimulating energy for some other reason, then you're using it as a hack. And in that case, I would be fully supportive of it. In my case, I choose not to have it, and because of the research that I've seen from a lot of these people, I said, all right, maybe it's not as terrible as I think it is, and maybe we upgrade it to a hack. The only challenge is, and those of you that are in the room that are WildFit clients that suddenly went, oh, that message was not for you. Because if you're that happy that I said that, then you might have an unhealthy relationship with it, like I had. And so you know who you are. And like Vishen, for example, you have coffee from time to time.
Yes, but I do this. Once a year, I go on WildFit, once a year, and during that time, for at least a month or 2 months, I'm not on caffeine. I'm resetting my system, because I love coffee. I take 3 cups a day, but I reset my system once a year so it doesn't become an addiction.
And this is key, and some of you will know who have been through the program that we talk a lot about seasonality in the spring season, and that's really what the spring season is about. It's about spring cleaning. And so when you go into the spring season, that's a time when you might want to take a vacation from alcohol. Guys, I'm not against alcohol. I haven't had it since I was 21 years old. Not because of WildFit, because I just didn't like it. I just didn't enjoy it. But I don't suggest anybody should ever give up alcohol unless they're called to do so. But in spring, we would suggest maybe that's not a great time for having alcohol. Maybe that's a great time for taking a holiday from caffeine. And then you get to reset your relationship. The challenge is, for a lot of people with caffeine, 1 cup of coffee is not enough. Or I should say, 1 cup of coffee is too many, because 1,000 is not enough. And if you're one of those people like me, it's best not to have it. If you're not, then have a healthy relationship with it.
And just to correlate what Eric is saying with the teachings of Ben Greenfield or Dave Asprey, right? Because both of them are dear friends of mine. When Dave Asprey is talking about bulletproof coffee, a lot of people in Mindvalley love bulletproof coffee. It fuels them. And it works because bulletproof coffee is a hack. You take it in replacement for breakfast. You're not taking breakfast. You're taking bulletproof coffee as a hack. Ben Greenfield talks about metabolic efficiency. And that means that you do an intermittent fast for 16 hours. And in that 16 hours, you cannot consume any food, but you can take water and caffeine. Again, it's a hack. It's not being used in the way the regular office worker uses caffeine to keep themselves awake because they aren't getting enough sleep and they're feeding an addiction. So keep that in mind. Even Dave Asprey, I once asked him, how many cups of coffee should you limit yourself to? And he said this, 2 cups of caffeine a day max. If you still love the taste of coffee, have decaf. And he said, and don't take it too late in the day.
This, by the way, fits very tightly with one of the core principles of WildFit, and that is that the idea of the recommended daily allowance that most governments around the world have, the recommended daily allowance, you should have this much calcium, you should have this much vitamin B, that is one of the most ridiculous notions in the history of nutrition. Our bodies evolved for seasonality. We evolved for peak moments of meat production and fruit production and this kind of stuff. So we are actually really robust when we have seasonal shift. Look, somebody might ask me, do you think it's a good idea to fast? Well, not as a lifestyle. You know, how long can you do that for? You know, it's a hack. You do it as a hack. And so I would say the same with caffeine. And incidentally, I would put to you that people like Dave and Ben and John and Missy Butcher have really done the research to figure out the truth about coffee. And I'll tell you, the other side of this is that most coffee is absolutely atrocious and you should never have it no matter what. But if you're going to have coffee, bulletproof coffee, purity coffee, what they've done is gone out to do the research to make sure that they're getting the best quality beans, produced the best quality way, without the pesticides and all that sort of stuff. And a huge amount of the harm that comes from coffee is from those things.
So here's another question. One of the things that is unique about WildFit, right, is that it's not about exercise. It's about food transforming your body. Now, the latest science shows that 80 to 90% of your body shape comes from the food you eat. People don't understand this. So a lot of people will eat a heavy, sugar-filled dessert and then believe that they're going to walk it off or jog it off the next day. It doesn't work that way, right? Exercise does not in any way compensate for poor eating habits. But 2 things constantly indoctrinate us with this false, dumb, unscientific belief that exercise causes you to lose weight. 1, late-night infomercials and the whole exercise industry. And gym change that, want to charge you an hour to work with a fitness trainer when all the evidence shows that 4-minute Tabata routines can be as productive as 30 minutes of aerobic. That's one. And the second thing is the food manufacturers. Nestle, for example, in the advertising for Milo, they position Milo as a drink you need to take before you exercise to give you energy. What they don't say is that firstly, exercise is not going to cause you to lose weight and Milo is going to cause you to gain weight. So it's becoming really dangerous how food manufacturers and the exercise industry are both hitting us with unscientific ideas so they can sell you like ab machines and energy drinks, take money out of your wallet and leave us a more obese species. I'm curious to know your views on exercise versus eating as a way to like stay slim.
Well, there is no exercise versus eating. It's insane. The idea that you could exercise your way to health is like suggesting you could drive your way to LA without gas. You need the basic energy and the basic building blocks and nutrition in your body. The deepest thing you can do to improve your own health is to eat enough of the good stuff. That you have to do that. There are things, look, you know, there's a lot of debate these days about whether there are like genome-specific diets and all that kind of stuff, and I'll put this to bed right now, I hope. You are all in this room, at least it appears to me, I'm just going to take a closer look. Yep, sapiens. Yes, mostly sapiens in here, yep. Also sapien. There's not one of you in this room that doesn't need vitamin C. There's not one of you in this room that doesn't need omega fats. There's not one of you in this room that doesn't need vitamin B12. There's not one of you in this room that doesn't need the full suite of amino acids. Not one of you. You are all of the same species. You have all of the same nutritional requirements. And the food industry, particularly companies that do energy drinks and soft drinks and stuff, what they do is they produce these campaigns that say, go out and get your fitness, so that they can take videos of people running along, acting healthy, wearing their logos. It makes them look like a socially conscious company, and it makes you somehow feel subliminally like it's okay for you to drink that drink. It is not there for your health. The first thing you do for your health, if you really want to know, the first thing you do for your health is you breathe properly. How long can you live without air? 3 minutes. And the next thing you do for your health is hydrate yourself properly. How long can you live without water? A day or two. And then after that, you start looking at food. And the whole diet industry is predicated on this idea of eliminate these dangerous foods and go and work out. Well, okay, first of all, those things are difficult to do. And secondly, they're not nearly as important as getting enough of the good stuff in. I will tell you, if you eat enough of the good stuff, you can get away with some of the bad stuff. Your body is stronger, it's healthier, it can cleanse the stuff out. If you eliminate all of the bad stuff and fail to get the good stuff, you're still going to be sick. Look, if we take our test subject, and our test subject is a human being, and we put them on the perfect diet. They don't eat a single GMO, they have no preservatives, they don't have any dairy products, they eat perfectly. But we remove the vitamin C from their food. They're going to get sick, and they're going to die. Because the first thing you have to do to turn your health around is to make sure you're getting enough of the good stuff in. And then when you've got enough of the good stuff in, you're going to find something fascinating begins to happen for you. First thing is, your cravings for the bad stuff is going to go down. The food industry is built on the idea that if we can keep you feeling hungry, then you'll keep eating stuff that doesn't satisfy your hunger, and then we'll keep you hungry, and then you'll eat more food that doesn't satisfy your hunger, and then we'll tell you to go and exercise, and that'll make you hungrier, and you'll buy more food that doesn't satisfy your hunger. No. Satisfy your proper nutritional hunger first, and you will find that your cravings for junk go down. And here's something magical. In about week 10 or 11 of eating properly in the Wild Fit Challenge, for example, you will suddenly find yourself fidgeting at your desk. You'll have energy. And the next thing you'll do is you'll write to our help desk and you'll say, what exercise do you recommend? Exercise will not make you healthy. It will make you healthier. Food will make you healthy.
Thank you. So I want to ask you a question. This is a tough question, and it's a major criticism of what you say. So I just want to be open and put you in the hot seat. A lot of people say, Eric, you slam the diet industry, right? You say that the diet industry is built on the lie that diets work. And this is why the average American does 5 diets in their lifetime, and it doesn't work. But they say, what you're putting out there, WildFit, is nothing more than just another diet.
You know, the proof is in the pudding. Sugar-free, dairy-free, gluten-free pudding. The proof's in the pudding. You know, you see the before and after pictures that you get from the diet industry. Go and look again. You'll find that most of the big fad diets recycle pretty much most of the same before and after pictures, because the fact of the matter is they don't actually generate that many. They go out and sell 10,000 books and 5 people make a change. If you look at the numbers that we have, if you look at the raw data, if you look at the number of before and after pictures and stories that we have from our clients, I don't know of a diet, and I'm not saying it's never happened, but I've not seen it, where you have 90% of the people completing the full 30-day run, or the full 90-day run. I've never seen that before. I've never seen a diet, and I was more surprised than anybody. I've never seen a diet where people do the program, and at the end of it, 85 to 95% of them are saying, my relationship with food has been permanently altered. I've not seen that before. So that in itself suggests this is not just a diet. It just isn't that way.
Because it's really about freedom. I mean, The problem with the diet is you're restraining yourself. It's about willpower.
Yeah.
But if you can change the wiring in your brain to desire and crave different foods, to be immune to brainwashing from big foods, that's a completely different thing. Now, are you doing neuro-linguistic programming? Are you doing behavioral pattern redesign? What's going on there?
You know, I'm really a big fan of what I would consider convergent intelligence. Or I should say, I'm sorry, divergent intelligence. So you send a child to university these days, they go off to school, but before they went to school, a brick is a car, and it's a spaceship, and it's a building, and it's an alien. And then you send them to school, and the brick becomes a brick. And what happens is that we narrow people's intelligence into one area, and it stops them from being able to think in a bigger way at times. I was very lucky. My parents couldn't afford to send me to university, and the government programs in place weren't there for me to go. I could not go. There was no way for me to go. And so what ended up happening is I went into the business world. I turned my health around by accident, and I became deeply fascinated by health, nutrition, the pharmacy industry. I mean, that side of my life, the medical industry, medical education, became really important to me. But something else happened at the same time, and without it, none of this takes place. And that is that I went to a seminar. I went to a seminar. You might know the guy, big teeth. You know the one. You know, Tony Robbins. And I'm 18 or 19 years old, and I'd been to see many motivational speakers working in a sales organization. And I'd go, and they would make me feel, motivated on the weekend. And then on Monday, I would show up at my office, and I would be the same person that I was Friday when I left for the seminar. But I went to go see Tony for the first time, and on Monday, I was a different person. I actually made more sales calls. I had more rapport with my clients. I was more inspired, not motivated. I was a different person. And I became deeply fascinated with the ability to use language to actually change the software in somebody's head, to actually change the way they think. And so, yeah, I started studying everything I could about psychology, neuro-linguistic programming, hypnotic language patterns. I studied what the CIA did when they were trying to interrogate people. I studied everything I could to figure out what's going on in here. And so when I sat down with my very first class of WildFit clients 5-6 years ago, I had no idea what I was doing. It was an idea. And I sat down in week 1. And I really didn't know what to do in week 1. And I'm going to admit something to you here. I didn't know what to do, so I told them not to change anything. Some of you will find that funny. The rest of you will find it funny one day in the future. But that's why I did that the first week. But it turned out to be genius. It turned out to be genius to give people the chance. And so now what we do, because we do make changes early on, is we tell people the minute you sign up for the program, don't change anything until day 1. Because what do most people do when they sign up for something? They either go one way or the other. They sign up, they know it starts in 10 days, so what do they start doing? Binging on all the stuff they're about to regret having, or losing, I should say. Or they go the other way, they go, I've signed up for a program, and I'm going to be good now. And what we tell them is don't change anything, because what we found out is we need to give people the opportunity to truly observe themselves. And then week by week, we made these subtle changes to both their psychology and their nutrition. Make no mistake, the food you eat affects the way you think. I am amazed at the explosion of antidepressants out there in the world. The antidepressants are counteracting malnutrition and toxicity. Your gut bacteria affects the way you think. And so as we make these incremental changes inside their psychology and in their nutrition, they start having this weird feeling. It's like, I don't feel like having pizza. I don't really want, what have you done? They do this. About week 7, they go, what did you do to me? Because something changed inside them. And nobody was more surprised than me when at the end of the 3 months, all 8 of our first clients reported dramatic changes. Everything from huge weight loss to asthma reversal to skin problems healing up. And I thought, wow, 100%, not bad. I thought, I'm not doing that again. I can't get 100% again. But we did another 8 and another 8. And I also want you to think about something else, like just especially to the challenge of this is just another diet. I have done nothing to market WildFit really. I just showed it to some people. And then I showed it to a few more people. And then one day my friend Paul Sheely, he did the program with his wife Libby. And he goes, can I tell my clients about this? I was like, yeah, go ahead. I mean, it's not a business, it's just a hobby. I'm going to start it as a business in 2019 or 2020. I'm busy right now though. Right now I've got other things. And he goes, yeah, I'm going to tell my network about it. He goes, but I've noticed there's no way to buy this on your website. And I go, yeah, we're not selling it. It's just something we do for our friends. And he goes, well, could you put up a website so that my clients could buy it if they wanted to? I go, okay. And up to then, we'd had like maybe 100, 150 people a year through our own business programs doing the program. You could not buy it online. And then Paul went and told his network about it, and 200 people signed up in a day. Like that's a year's worth of business in a day. And then about 3 weeks later, my friend Colin Sprake, he said, can I do the same thing? And another 150 people signed up in a day. And then this guy, you might be familiar with him, Vishen. Vishen goes, look at my body. Can I tell Mindvalley about this? I said, wait! Please no. I have some work to do. And we worked and we invested and we built and we worked and we invested and we built. And then Vishen went out and told his network about it. And 1,100 people signed up in 2 weeks. And since then, we've had thousands and thousands of people. This is from word of mouth. This is from people getting results in their life and sharing it. If it was a diet, I don't think it would be working that way.
And the funny thing is, I got my mom and my dad to transform their health too, and I've been trying for like the longest time. But the crazy thing that happened was this. When we started WildFit, we were literally running that first batch on a WordPress blog, right? But we noticed that there was something about the behavioral design, the micro-learning, the step-by-step little videos every day in a community. And we got like a 90% completion rate on 1,100 people. We'd never seen that before. So sometime around day 66 of WildFit, I was in my car watching Eric. I watch at the stoplights. I don't do it in an unsafe way. And I realized, what the hell, Vishen? You've been sticking to this for 66 days. What is he doing to you? So we looked at what Eric was doing with the behavioral modifications, and we said, this is like a computer game. It's like a quest. And that's how Mindvalley Quest was born. And within 3 months of launching Quest, we realized that Quest was going to be the future of online learning. So I decided we were going to kill 1,000 courses on Mindvalley. We literally took down 1,000 courses in January 2017, and we decided to focus on Quest. And WildFit right now is one of our quests, but we now have 13 different quests. And the Quest app was inspired by WildFit in a way, was inspired by the methodology of WildFit. So that's how everything ties together. WildFit really gave birth to Mindvalley.
I'm just calling my lawyer.
But I would love to get your stories on WildFit. Is there anyone here who's done WildFit, who could stand up and just share really briefly, 45 seconds, what it did for you? Yeah, just if you're ready, just stand up and we'll just come to you with a mic.
Hi. I'm one of Eric's WildFit coaches, Catherine Potter. I attended WildFest Beta this spring with Eric in the Dominican. It was absolutely fabulous. You should all come next year. But there's only
Catherine, what did WildFit do for you?
It transformed so many things for me. I mean, I didn't lose a huge amount of weight because I was already I'd already cut out gluten like 2 years before. But the things that I really noticed is a lot of remodeling of my body. I just so much happier with the shape. I look in the mirror and I love to look at my shape and appreciate that. I'm a dancer, and so dancing is really, really important to me. And it used to be a deep knee bend for me. This would cause pain, really bad pain. And doing floor work, really hard. Now I can do this.
That's amazing.
And it doesn't hurt.
And you know what's funny about Catherine's story? At our first ever opening party here at Mindvalley University, as soon as that incredible band, Noah, got on stage, Catherine was the first person there dancing. And then she ended up in the Estonian press, right? Big picture of her dancing her face off. Thank you, Catherine.
One thing I'd love to add, Catherine, your story just inspires me that one of the favorite videos, clients often send me videos or they post them online and tag me in them. And one of my favorite ones was from a Muslim guy who had gone off to his family's home. I don't remember what country he was in. And he was going off to prayer time. And he usually had to bring a small stool with him because when he would put the mat down, and if he tried to get down in proper posture, he would hurt his knees so badly. But he suddenly realized that he'd forgotten his stool. And he had to go into prayer time without his stool, and he was really worried about it. And he went in and he did his prayers, and his knees didn't hurt him at all. As soon as he came out of the mosque, he took his phone out and recorded a video from me in the middle of this Middle Eastern country telling, because of WildFit, I don't have to take my stool and I can get closer to God. And your story just reminded me of that. Thank you so
phenomenal.
much. Give her
Anyone
a hand,
else?
everybody. Thank you.
And I think these stories are really cool. Firstly, it's a really cool way of recognizing Eric and the trends and the amazing work you've done transforming people over here. Eric has already received a medal from the Canadian Senate. And America has this group called the Transformational Leadership Council. It's a group of America's top health and wellness coaches. And I heard about WildFit because I was attending a meeting and they called up this dude, Eric. I had no idea who he was. And they gave him a medal because he collectively helped dozens of people in this group lose weight so they could do their jobs as healers, as coaches, as teachers far better, including famous people like Jack Canfield, right? Amazing work. If any of you have a story, I'd love for you guys to share so we can acknowledge Eric and also maybe inspire other people here to take ownership over their health.
If you're a mic runner, just go find somebody who's got their hand up and give it to them.
Yeah.
Hello, thank you for your talking, and I'm really convinced, but I have not a success story. I applied for master class and I did the first days, and when it came to the motivation, I stopped. You know, and I want to ask you to say something today about the psychological thing. And if I ask people, they, oh, yeah, please, if you like chocolate, what I do really, oh, then take a fruit, but a banana is not a chocolate. So or get a hug from people, okay, if you have a spouse, but if you are living alone, it's not so easy to go in Berlin in the tram and to say, okay, please hug me. So
why not? Oh,
I can do it here, but in Germany.
Do the Wild Fit Challenge in California. That might be more helpful. What I want to suggest to you is this: is that the entire idea of the Wild Fit Challenge is to make it so that you never have to rely on willpower, so that you don't have to do food based on willpower. And what I want to suggest to you is that there's a huge amount of freedom on the other side of short-term willpower. And so, yeah, when you do the Wild Fit Challenge, there are going to be moments in the early start of the program where you do use a little bit of willpower. And so, yes, we're going to say at one stage, we're going to want you to check your relationship with sugar and not be on it. So I need to understand your story better to be able to address it, but come and find me afterward and I'll do what I can. I want to understand it better. Like, is this from the master class? What week were you in? I don't really understand.
Anyone with a story?
I don't have a story, I have a question. So
Could we keep it to stories? Because we already did the questions. I really want the Wild Fitters to speak up. We'll have time for questions later.
got it.
I'll stick around. Come and find me.
Yeah,
I'll
we'll
answer
stick
a
around.
question or two.
Hi, Eric.
Oh, back
Hi.
here.
Yeah, hi, I'm Nomita from Washington State. So yeah, I am a classic mom, you know, business owner, a dentist, so very burning out business, wife and all. And, you know, in my mid-40s now, and I had given up on losing weight, you know, the weight of 2 kids, 20, 25 plus pounds. And I just kind of realized that other things are way more important, and as long as I'm just functioning fine, it's okay. But it used to bug me that I have no control over this weight. And Wild Fit, the part where you week by week reduce, you know, help us to cut off things, I was totally able to, you know, own that. Oh, this week I didn't have sugar and I'm okay. And then, you know, the following week, the dairy. And that owning and being in my power for the first time was life-changing. And at the end of the 90 days, to be able, you know, I still enjoy my sugary stuff, but I just know that I have control when I want to, you know, get back on track. If it's gone beyond 3 or 4 pounds, I can get myself back on track.
Thank you,
Namita. That is empowering.
Thank you for sharing. And you're from India, right?
I'm Indian originally, but living in Seattle for last 20
Living in Seattle.
years.
Thank you, Namita, for sharing.
Thank you.
Could I just ask a quick question? Because I really want to demonstrate this in a powerful way. Everyone who's done Wild Fit, please stand up, including myself, okay? And I want you to we're just going to, like, if you can yell out, we probably won't be able to pass the mic around, but if you've done Wild Fit, I want you to just say, in one sentence, what it did for your health. I'm going to start with mine. I lost 7 kilograms. I started sleeping better. And all of a sudden, felt like I had twice the energy I had before. I could plow through a busy day with no dip in energy, no need for a sandwich or a Snickers bar at 5 p.m. Just say it out loud in one sentence.
Hi, just a quick story.
One sentence. We don't have time for a story.
Problem is, she just did the Speaking Academy.
Yes,
She wants to
you
talk.
just did Speaking Academy. Okay, next. One sentence.
increase in energy, way up, and I'm no longer hungry. Ever.
Thanks. Tony, I probably want to...
More energy and more mental clarity.
Better relationship with food.
Was fast metabolism, now turbo metabolism, and no more code blue.
No more code blue, that's awesome.
No more code blue.
Total control over food.
And you're from Estonia, right?
I'm from Estonia,
Awesome.
yeah.
My energy increased by at least 500%. I could not get out of bed before, and now look where I am.
That's amazing. On this side? So I want you to notice, a lot of people are not saying weight loss. They're saying energy, they're saying freedom, they're saying relationship with food.
I did have weight loss, but increased energy and a complete relationship change with food.
I lost 10 kilos, my skin totally amazing, my hair, and I feel more sexy also,
That's fantastic.
and much more.
Hi, Cindy. I lost 10 kilos. My angry skin went away completely. And also by giving up sugar and caffeine, I found an inner stillness. Thank you, Eric.
You're very welcome.
Hi, I'm Ingrid. I sleep less, I have lots of energy, and I'm more productive.
Thank you. And then just some people over there. Notice energy. So the reason I'm doing this exercise is because it's so tempting to think that it's about just looking better and weight loss, and that happens, right? But but the energy, the mental clarity, the cognitive functioning.
Hi, Gautam from India. It made me stop wanting the food here. Hey, Vishen.
I see you, Gautam.
It made me stop wanting the food that I knew that was bad for me, and that was a big behavioral change.
I'm Marilyn, and I'm also now a Wild Fit coach. Rid of my dark chocolate obsession, and also sleep better and more energy.
Anna Maria?
I used to have this horrible dizziness, like all my life, like for 20-something years, and I thought it's normal. And then I realized it's not, and it was gone, and these afternoon crashes went away, so I thought I have to crash on a beanbag after lunch so that I can work again, and then it doesn't happen anymore, so it's cool, and my skin is nicer.
Thank you, guys. And then just the last few people over there.
So, yeah, stage voice with that. So for me, it was better relationships with all of the people in my life.
Better sleeping, better energy, way reduction in allergies. Not that you tell I've caught the wonderful Estonian whatever's going around, but it was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Sorry we can't pass the mic on, but I want you to observe what you heard. The majority of people didn't talk about weight loss. Weight loss happens, but we've created this society where we're obsessed about losing weight. That's not the point. It's really about health transformation. And a lot of people said better relationship with food. And Eric has an interesting story on this one about the man who said, it's about freedom and pizza. I'd love for you to just share that story.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pass the mic to you, but food influences everything. Food influences your energy. Food influences your skin. A lot of the reasons we take medication is not because we're ill, it's because we're pumping crap into our system. It affects your ability to bend your knees. It affects your energy level, your cognitive functioning. When you change your relationship with food, one of the things that people often find is that they're actually smarter. They have better mental clarity. Brain fog disappears. And so this is one of the most profound lessons we can teach ourselves and teach our kids. And also, you become immune to the constant barrage of indoctrination from food companies. Eric, just to close, tell us your story of freedom and pizza.
So I had a business client come to me, Frederick, and he said, you know, Eric, I see the results. Many of his friends had done the program and lost weight and changed their sleeping patterns and just improved the quality of their life. And he says, all that sounds really good to me. I just can't do it. And I said, well, why not? And he said, I just value freedom too much. And I said, okay, I can relate to that. I'm a freedom guy. I can relate to that. And I said, what does freedom mean to you? And he goes, well, it means that I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want, as much as I want. Pretty good definition, I think. And so I said, I see. I said, so are you free to not eat what you don't want when you don't want to eat it? And he's like, I don't understand. And I said, well, I'm just saying, are you free to not eat the food that you wish you didn't eat so much when you don't want to eat it? No, still doesn't compute. And I said, look, here's what I'm asking you. I said, you and I just had lunch. If they brought a pizza over here, I happen to know that he liked pizza quite a lot. If they brought a pizza over here, would you eat it? And he goes, yes. I go, but we just had lunch. Yeah, he says, but it's pizza. I go, but your stomach is full. Yeah, but it's pizza. And I said, so are you free to not eat the pizza? And he was like, oh, I don't have freedom. I don't have freedom at all. And a couple of years later, I was sitting having lunch with the president of WildFit and Jeffrey Perlman, one of the founders of Zumba. And Jeffrey said, you know, every brand, every major movement has aligned themselves with a value, with some delivery. You know, like Coca-Cola aligned themselves with happiness, for example, and Harley Davidson with irreverence. And he said, what do you think WildFit's really about? And I said, I think it's about freedom. I think it is about freedom. I think it's about giving people food freedom. It's about getting them to a place where they truly can eat what they want as much as they want, whenever they want, because they don't want the stuff that's hurting their bodies. And he said that he's done the program. That's why he was sitting at the table with me. He wanted to help us. He came to me one day and he said, what Zumba did to the fitness industry, WildFit is about to do to the diet industry. How can I help you? And I said, really? Like, what does that mean to you? And he says, the whole world is out there trying to find a diet they can stick to. And he says, and you've created a health program that sticks to them. He said, freedom is what WildFit is about. This was at night. In the morning, he and I and Andrea were having breakfast. And a guy walks out of the cafeteria. And he sees me at the table, and he walks up. And he's like, Eric, I have to thank you. I'm like, oh, I'm still getting used to that. Okay, I have to thank you. And I'm like, okay, what for? And he says, my freedom. And Andrea and Jeffrey and I look at each other. And I'm starting to think one of them is pranking me. You know, like you put him up to this. And Jeffrey says, stop. Sir, he says to the guy, what exactly do you mean? What exactly do you mean by freedom? And the guy says, I just walked out of the cafeteria and I suddenly realized that I didn't have a single croissant or a toast or a cookie or anything sugary on my plate. And then I realized, well, of course I didn't, because I don't eat those things anymore. But the weirdest thing is I didn't even see any. It's like weird, this hotel doesn't have that stuff. And so I turned around and looked back in, and there was a huge display of it. And I didn't even see it. He says, that's what I mean by freedom. So, WildFit is about freedom.
Thank you, Eric. Round of applause for Eric Edmeades.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes our Mindvalley University session for today. Eric, thank you for joining us. This is awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys very much.
The next batch of WildFit is starting in August. If any of you want to sign up, just send an email to jason@mindvalley.com, and Jason will send you a link to where you can get all the details. WildFit starts twice a year. We do it in a batch of 1,000 to 2,000 people. Next batch kicks off, I believe, in about 2 weeks. Thanks all.
She said she too young, don't want no man, so she gon' call her friends, now that's a plan. I just ordered sushi from Japan. Now yo bitch wanna kick it, Jackie Chan. Dropped up, how we rolling down on